Mercedes-Benz Gen H2 hydrogen fuel cell truck. Daimler and Volvo both believe hydrogen fuel cells have a place alongside pure electric power, and they are teaming up to ensure that happens. They are forming a joint venture to develop and sell fuel cell systems. The focus is on heavy-duty trucks such as Mercedes and Gen H2 concept pictured above, but the two note their technology should be ideally suited to tasks like stationary power generators. Imagine a cleaner alternative to the diesel generators that keep data center up and running. The two are creating a system with multiple power stages, most notably a twin system that delivers 300 kilowatts of non-stop power for long-haul trucks. They stress that they will remain competitors elsewhere, including the actual integration of fuel cells into their own vehicles. You will be waiting a while before you see any trucks using these cells on roads, construction sites, and quarries. Daimler and Volvo expect to start the first tests of trucks using the fuel cells in about 3 years, and won't start full production until the second half of the decade. The joint venture itself isn't expected to finalize until the first half of 2021. The alliance is, in a sense, an acknowledgement of hydrogen's place in an emission-free future. EVs will increasingly dominate passenger car lineups from brands like Mercedes-Benz and Volvo. Fuel cells, meanwhile, appear increasingly better suited to trucks and other use, where longevity and rapid turnaround times are more important. A new study finds that coronavirus patients who have severe symptoms can experience a decline in brain function months after recovery. Some common cognitive issues include memory loss, brain fog, and an inability to concentrate for sustained periods of time. Researchers say that the cognitive decline is equivalent to the brain aging 10 years. A new research report examining the long-term impact of the coronavirus suggests that recovered coronavirus patients can experience significant cognitive impairments even months after their initial diagnosis. The study, which included more than 84,000 people, is in the process of being peer-reviewed and was published recently on medRxiv. Well, we have previously seen reports which highlight how recovered coronavirus patients can experience a range of cognitive issues such as memory loss and difficulty concentrating. This is the first study that set out to measure the extent to which brain function is impaired by the coronavirus. Suffice it to say, some of the study's findings are both startling and frightening. Trump is dropping hints about firing Dr. Fauci after the election. This is one of the most dangerous jobs to have during the coronavirus pandemic, and now there's proof. These promising coronavirus vaccines could be approved sooner than expected, but not in the US. Today's Amazon deal 3M N95 masks are in stock right now at Amazon. The study found that people who have COVID-19 perform worse on cognitive tests in multiple domains than would be expected given their detailed age and demographic profiles. It's worth noting that the cognitive issues weren't just observed in patients who had COVID-19 infection at the time, but also in patients who otherwise recovered weeks and months prior. In instances where patients experienced severe coronavirus symptoms that required hospitalization, researchers found that the coronavirus can age the brain by about 10 years, which the study notes is equivalent to an 8.5-point decline in IQ. The scale of the observed deficits was not insubstantial. The 0.57 SD Global Composite score reduction for the hospitalized with ventilator subgroup was equivalent to the average of 10 years decline in global performance between the ages of 20 to 70 within this dataset. It was larger than the mean deficit of 512 people who indicated that they had previously suffered a stroke minus 0.40 SDS, and the 1,016 who reported learning disabilities minus 0.49 SDS. For comparison, in a classic intelligence test, 0.57 SDS equates to an 8.5-point difference in IQ. A somewhat similar study from Northwestern involving 509 hospitalized coronavirus patients found that 31% experienced encephalopathy, an all-encompassing term that includes a range of altered brain function, including confusion, memory loss, concentration issues, and even slight personality changes. That study reads in part, upon discharge from the hospital, only 32.1% of patients with encephalopathy were able to care for their own affairs, compared to 89.3% of those who did not develop encephalopathy. There was also higher mortality in patients with encephalopathy, 21.7% compared to 3.2% of those without. Without question, one of the scarier aspects of the coronavirus is its apparent ability to impact a person's health and cognitive function months after recovery. It remains unclear at this point if patients who experience a discernible cognitive decline will be able to return to a level of pre-coronavirus brain function later on down the line. Disappear near war as PM orders military into defined region. BC senior advocate wants change in care home visits during pandemic. Pause that's no blue wave, but there has certainly been the revenge of the red. Adidas ABABA substitute. Ethiopia's Nobel Peace Prize winning Prime Minister on Wednesday ordered the military to confront the country's Tigray regional government after he accused it of a deadly attack on a military base, declaring the last red line has been crossed after months of alleged provocations. A group of people standing next to a man in a suit and a tie provided by the Canadian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's move against the well-armed Tigray People's Liberation Front raised concerns that one of Africa's most populous and powerful countries could plunge into civil war. That would send a shock wave through one of the world's most turbulent regions, the Horn of Africa. SP's neighbors include Somalia and Sudan, and the prospect of spreading instability sent a chill down observers' spines. Signaling the gravity of the threat, the United States, in the midst of its election drama, issued a statement urging an immediate de-escalation. Abiy, in a televised address, announced several martyrs in the overnight attack in Makele, the northern Tigray region's capital, and Dansha city. He said the end is near for the regional force based in Ethiopia's most sensitive region. Neighboring Eritrea, the two countries made peace in 2018 after a long border war. Fighting continued Wednesday afternoon, and the TPLF claimed it had captured and killed Ethiopian army officials, a government statement said hours later. The TPLF dominated Ethiopia's governing coalition before Abiy took office in 2018 and announced the sweeping political reforms that won him the Nobel last year. Those reforms, however, opened space for ethnic and other grievances, the TPLF feeling marginalized by the shifts in power left the coalition last year. Its strong military force has been reinforced in recent months, but analysts said it's little match for the federal government. Ethiopia declared a 6-month state of emergency in Tigray Trace on Wednesday, saying illegal and violent activities are threatening the country's sovereignty. A statement on Turkey's TV accused the federal government of deploying troops to cow the people of Tigray into submission by force, and said that Turkey's government was acting to avert more destructive measures. It banned movement by Ethiopia military there and warned of proportional measures for damage to people or property. Tigray leader Deborah Gibraltar on Monday warned a bloody conflict could erupt, accusing Ethiopian and Eritrean leader of making all necessary preparations to start a war against Tigray. There was no immediate Eritrea comment. Internet and phone lines were cut in Tigray, provoking distress among people who could not reach loved ones. Tigray TV reported that airspace had been closed over the region and asserted that the Ethiopian military's Northern Command had defeated the Tigray government. The Prime Minister's office told the Associated Press the defection report was not true. Ethiopia was already stressed by a dispute with Egypt over a massive Ethiopian dam project that has drawn rare attention by President Donald Trump to Africa and by multi-layer crisis with the COVID-19 pandemic, deadly ethnic violence, and a locust outbreak. Now the greatest test of Abiy's role has come, as the fighting in Tigray could inspire other restive regions in Ethiopia. Tigray officials had objected to the postponement of Ethiopia's national election, once set for August because of the pandemic and the extension of Abiy's time in office. In September, Tigray voted in an election that defied the federal government and increased the tension over a region of some 5 million people that despite its small share of Ethiopia's population of 110 million, has had outsized influence. Last month, the federal government moved to divert funding for Tigray to local administrations instead of regional government, angling the TPLF. On Sunday, a senior TPLF official, Getachew Reda, told the AP his side will not accept a negotiation with the federal government. What we need now is a national dialogue, he said. The TPLF calls the release of detained former officials a precondition. This war is the worst possible outcome of the tension that have been brewing, said William Davison, International Crisis Group's senior analyst for Ethiopia. Given Tigray's relatively strong security position, the conflicts may well be protracted and disastrous. Abiy's statement accused the TPLF of arming and organizing irregular military in recent weeks. TPLF has chosen to wage war. His office said the last red line has been crossed with this morning's attacks, and the federal government is therefore forced into a military confrontation to save the country. The head of the new State of Emergency Committee, Redwan Hassan, later told reporters the federal government's conflict is with a small clique of TPLF circles that are keen to destabilize Ethiopia, and the government must do everything possible to liberate the Tigrayan people. The army was taking key positions after the initial attack, he said. Observers have worried for months about the growing tension and their implications for the Horn of Africa, where Abiy has cast himself as a peacemaker. A report last month by former U.S. diplomats for the United States Institute of Peace said the fragmentation of Ethiopia would be the largest state collapse in modern history, likely leading to mass interethnic and interreligious conflict and a humanitarian and security crisis at the crossroads of Africa and the Middle East on a scale that would overshadow the existing conflicts in South Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen. The international community needs to rally around the idea of a national dialogue in Ethiopia, the International Crisis Group has said. The alternative, given the country's multiple and bitter divides, its potential march to war that would be catastrophic, it wrote last week. Fighting could undo Ethiopia's military coercion, the group said. Tigray officials hold positions that throughout the armed forces in different parts of the country. Some might prove more loyal to their region than to federal authorities. It was not immediately clear how Ethiopia's region would respond. The head of Amara region, Talikson Trillions, in a Facebook post, said members of Tricia's security forces were welcome to defect, writing that we know you are fighting because you have no choice. The Amhara and the Tricia region before Abiy's rule were locked in a bitter confrontation over disputed border areas. The U.S. is officially out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Here's what could happen next. Parliamentary budget officials rebuked Trudeau's government over Facebook and Twitter take emergency steps against Trump's false victory claims. The U.S. became the first country to officially exit the Paris Climate Accord Wednesday. The landmark agreement aimed at protecting the planet from the worsening impacts of the climate crisis. Occurring next to a body of water, pump jacks and wells are seen in an oil field on the Montreal Seal Formation, where gas and oil extraction using hydraulic fracturing are trickling. It is the verge of a boom on March 23, 2014 near McKinney, California. Critics of fracking in California City cite concerns over water usage and the possible chemical pollution of groundwater sources as California farmers are forced to leave unprecedented expanse of fields following one of the worst droughts in California history. Concerns also include the possibility of earthquakes triggered by the fracking process, which injects water, sand, various chemicals, and high pressure into the ground to break the rock to release oil and gas for extraction. Though aware, the 800-mile-long San Andreas Fault runs north and south on the western side of the Monterey Formation in the Central Valley, and is thought to be the most dangerous fault in the nation. Proponent of the fracking boom, saying that the expansion of the petroleum extraction is good for the economic and security by developing more domestic energy sources and increasing gas and oil exports. Pump jacks and wells are seen in an oil field on the Memphis Shale Formation, where gas and oil extraction using hydraulic fracking is on the verge of a boom on March 23, 2014, near Montreal, California. After years that seen record-breaking wildfires and seemingly an ending stream of hurricanes strike the Gulf Coast, the U.S. is now the only country to formally pull out of the deal since it was adopted in 2015. Under the rules of the agreement, a country cannot officially leave for 1 full year after notifying the UN of its intent to withdraw. The countdown to the U.S. exit began on November 4, 2019, when the U.S. sent a notice of its plans to leave. The United States notified the United Nations of its withdrawal 1 year ago on November 4, 2019. Per the terms of the agreement, that withdrawal takes effect exactly 1 year after delivery of a notification. Today, November 4, 2020, the United States is no longer a party of the Paris Agreement. A U.S. State Department spokesperson said Wednesday, "In some ways, today's exit is a mere formality. Trump first announced his plans to get out of the agreement more than 3 years ago, and his administration has shown little interest in rejoining the global climate fight. Still, the U.S. could get back into the agreement. Whether it does and what the trajectory of future global warming looks like will likely both hinge on the outcome of the election. Trump has given no indication that he intends to rejoin the accord when he wins a second term, and his administration has spent much of the last 4 years unwinding regulations aimed to reduce the U.S. heat-trapping gas emissions. Meanwhile, Biden has promised to re-enter the agreement as soon as possible after his inauguration if he wins the election, and his $2 trillion climate plan calls for the U.S. to reach 100% clean electricity generation by 2035. Biden intends to rejoin if he wins. If Biden wins, he could submit a notice to the United Nations after his inauguration on January 20 that the United States intends to re-enter the agreement, and just 30 days later, the U.S. would officially be back in. When the U.S. joined Paris under the Obama administration, it pledged to cut its emissions by 26 to 28% compared to 2005 levels by 2025. But analysis shows the U.S. is nowhere near hitting those targets. Experts say getting back in would be the easiest path, charting a path to substantially lower the country's emission, and more importantly, meeting those goals is a bigger challenge. And the rules of the Accord, countries are expected to enhance their commitments to curb greenhouse gas emissions every 5 years. Before the pandemic postponed a major UN climate summit, 2020 was supposed to be the next mile marker for countries to increase their pledges. If the US were to re-enter, it would be expected to announce more ambitious reductions to achieve by 2030 and outline detailed plans for how it will hit those goals. According to Andrew Light, a former senior climate official in the Obama administration State Department, Light expects that Biden would no doubt use executive actions and push to include clean energy funding in a new stimulus package next year if he wins the presidency. But beyond that, the results of other 2020 races could again come into play. Even in a scenario where Democrats maintain control of the House and capture a narrow Senate majority, a possible Biden administration could have trouble passing comprehensive climate legislation without some Republican support. That's what we will all be waiting to see, Light said, and that would determine how hard it is for Biden to put together a legislative package that can get Americans back to work with clean energy jobs and also demonstrate to the world that we are truly back in. Biden would also face a tall task of rebuilding U.S. credibility when it comes to climate action, experts say. This is now the second time the U.S. has bailed on an international climate agreement after it led the negotiations. The first exit was from the Kyoto Protocol, a previous climate pact joined during the Clinton administration, only to be vacated during George W. Bush's presidency. If Biden wins, he's going to have to go through a process to rejoin Paris. Light said part of it will be straightforward and part of it won't, because the U.S. reputation has already been damaged on this issue. Top emitters beside the U.S. remain signed up if Trump wins re-election and does not re-enter the agreement. Experts expect to see the U.S. sidelined even further from the international community. All of the world's other major superpowers and top greenhouse gas emitters, including China, India, the European Union, the UK, Japan, Russia, and Brazil, are among the 189 countries who are still part of the agreement. The U.S. is joining a small minority of non-participants, including Iran, Libya, Iraq, Turkey, and a few other small nations. Domestically, we should expect a continuation of the trend we've seen over the last 4 years, where efforts by states like California and New York to slash emissions come into conflict with the Trump administration's efforts to roll back regulations. According to Jonathan Pershing, a former special envoy for climate change at the U.S. Department of State during the Obama administration. The question is where the federal government preempt or limit states' capital cities to act, Pershing said, and there's every indication that they intend to do that. By leaving Paris, Light says the U.S. also forfeiting a huge economic investment opportunities. It's estimated to be worth $23 trillion in the 21st top emerging market economies through the 2030 alone. And in purely scientific terms, the U.S. absence is a huge blow to the fight to confront global warming. The U.S. is the world's second largest emitter of greenhouse gases, and without the country meaningfully reducing its own emissions and pressing over other countries to set more aggressive goals, it will remain a tall task to achieve net zero emissions by around the mid-century. The goals of the Paris Agreement are to limit global warming to well below 2 Celsius degree and pursue efforts to limit it to 1.5 Celsius degree. But the worsening climate-fueled disaster of the last few years planet have occurred at barely more than 1 Celsius degree of warming. We used to think that warming of 2 Celsius degree was a huge problem, but that if we could stay below that, we could avoid the worst of the damage. Person said, we are now seeing the damage starting today and getting much worse, and people increasingly think we've got to have a greater degree of urgency and rapid action that they might have thought even as little as 4 years ago. Sarah McDonald to become nation's first ever transgender state senator. 8 Capitol High School students charged with assaulting men next Donald Trump failed the third Democratic activity. Sarah will become the nation's first person who publicly identifies as transgender to serve as state senator after winning Tuesday's election in Delaware, CNN report. A person holding a microphone, Los Angeles, California, Sarah McBurney, National Press Secretary for the HRC Foundation, speaks on stage at the Human Rights Campaign 2018 Los Angeles Gala dinner at JW Emeritus Los Angeles at LA Live on March 10, 2018 in Los Angeles, California. Her win Tuesday also makes her Delaware's first out LGBTO person elected to the state's legislature. I hope tonight shows that LGBTs that our democracy is big enough for them too. McBride tweeted Tuesday night, as Delaware continues to face a COVID crisis, it's time to get to work to invest in the policies that will make a difference for working families. McBride was the first transgender person to speak at the major party convention when she addressed the Democratic National Convention in 2016. She was also the first out transgender White House staffer, when she interned in the Obama White House. Deputy elected first transgender state senator in U.S. in 2013, she advocated for the passage of Delaware's Gender Identity Non-Discrimination Act, which was signed into law that year. McBride ran on expanding access to health care and paid leave, increasing Delaware's minimum wage, and reforming the criminal justice system. Alfonso David, the president of Human Rights Campaign, said McBride made history not just for herself but for our entire community. She gives a voice to the marginalized As a representative and an advocate, David said in a statement, "This victory, the first of what I expect to be many in her career, shows that any person can achieve their dream no matter their gender identity or sexual orientation." The head of a political action committee that aims to elect LGBTO people to public office touted McBride's victory and said it would inspire more trans people to follow in her footsteps and run for public office. Sarah's overwhelming victory is a powerful testament to the growing influence of transgender leaders in our politics and gives hope to countless trans people looking toward a brighter future. Alice Parker, the former mayor of Houston and the current president of the LGBTQ Victory Fund, said in a statement Tuesday, "The transparent face mask has just arrived to your city, protective, healthy, and doesn't hide your face." Published November 2020, Helen Fisher. The novel transparent face mask that has taken the world by a storm and puts a smile on everyone's face is finally here, recommended by 98% of buyers. At first, we thought face mask was a passing trend, but we quickly realized it's here to stay. Beyond the discomfort, some argue that masks also cause damage on an emotional level. A new company enters the picture and develops a revolutionary product, a transparent face mask. It allows us to finally see each other's face and gives us back our personal identity and smile. Life looks richer with a transparent face mask. Behind the mask lies a new reality, and we must make the best of it. It's time for you to discover clearshield. No one likes wearing a mask. We expected the situation would last another week, another month, until we realized that the face masks are here to stay for a long time, and we needed to find a solution to get through this period in the most comfortable way possible. Surgical masks, cloth masks, even when they are decorated with patterns and colorful prints, they still hide much of your face. Many people complain about the difficulty of doing everyday tasks with them. There are those who claim that they make it difficult to communicate, and there are those who feel that they are stealing their uniqueness and identity. Now the transparent mask is here, time to smile. Someone had to invent it at some point, and it's ingenious. The transparent mask clearshield has recently landed in our city. Beyond being protective, it provides pure visibility. With the transparent mask, our faces are visible and can exchange smiles and angry faces. We can talk normally, see facial expression, communicate and feel comfortable. In short, we can go back and be ourselves. It's no wonder that those who have already tried it are addicted. Who is this mask for? Anyone can use clearshield. This mask is for all those who are concerned about their health and the environment. Clearshield is reusable and is not disposable like other masks. It favors and improves relationship with others by not appearing so distant. Help teachers and experts who need to explain and express themselves more clearly. great discovery for specialists such as psychologists and other therapists whose face is one of their work tools. It helps journalists or people who work in the medium and appear in public to communicate better. Start using the mask and enjoy its benefits now that you have discovered the life-changing transparent face mask. Take the following 3 steps and it's yours. Step 1. Order the clearshield today. Step 2. Receive your shipment quickly and get excited. Step 3. Put the mask on your face and smile freely. What people say about clearshield? Oh, my friend, have seen and bought it. The second I wore the see-through mask for the first time. I realized I was going to lead a trend. All my friends started asking me, where did you buy it? From whom? And they ordered themselves immediately. Now they are congratulating me. I'm not going anywhere without this amazing mask. Ever since I discovered the transparent mask, I have become addicted to it. It is so comfortable that sometimes I forget it's my face. Perfect. We get our smile back when me and my partners realized that we would have to wear masks all the time. We became depressed. It was difficult for us to see, hear, smell, and we could barely do anything. Since we discovered the transparent mask, our lives have changed for the better. We can suddenly do everything, and all the senses are back in full swing. This is simply an ingenious invention. What does it look like? All the benefits of clearshield in complete transparency allows you to stay connected to the people around you, communicate, talk, and display your charming smile. Zero discomfort, no ear aches, no itching, and no movement restriction. The mask adapts itself to you and its light so you almost can't feel it. Anti-vapor and anti-water designed to never contain vapor. No matter what the weather is, allows perfect breathing. Designed so that you can breathe oxygen and not the carbon dioxide you emit, unlike other masks. The best option, main advantage with the transparent mask, our faces are visible. We can exchange smiles and angry faces. We can talk normally, see facial expressions. Safe and environmentally friendly, made of high-quality materials that are not dangerous to humans. Hygienic, reusable, and recyclable. Easy to clean, can be easily cleaned many times with soap and water and even in the dishwasher. Quick drying and ready for further use. Comfortable, lightweight, and breathable. It includes a ventilated area on both sides of the face, ideal to be worn for extended period of time. How can you buy it in Canada? You can place your order online through the official website in Canada to be sent to your home. Only during the launch period, the company is offering an exclusive promotion for this product through this link. And if that were not enough, they also offer a discount for bulk purchases. This website is an advertisement and not a news post. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. The information provided in this document should not be considered a substitute for the advice of physicians or other healthcare professionals. The mask does not prevent COVID, nor is it from medical use. They can be useful in certain situations for high risks of contagion. as a complement to mask, never as a substitute. Since each individual is different, the result may vary. Thanks for watching. Thanks.